Hi, everybody. This is Mark and Holly Jansen from Jansen Photo Expeditions. Today, we'd like to talk about our upcoming August 10th through the 17th Icelandic photography workshop.
We are putting on a variety of Icelandic workshops in the next few years. We will be doing one in the summer and one in the late winter. We just actually returned from our late winter workshop, and we're going to give you a little summary of that workshop as well.
Yeah, so just sit back and enjoy what we're going to show you. A little bit about us. We take small groups into various locations throughout the world and teach you photographic technique, or if you're an advanced photographer, we bring you to amazing locations so you can capture that awesome image.
On this particular workshop for summer of August 2015, we will be starting off in Reykjavik and covering the northern or the western and northern areas of Iceland, and then we will actually circumnavigate the whole country. So let us show you some pictures from this upcoming trip, and here we go.
Okay, like Iceland's an amazing country, as you all know. It's an old volcanic land, and it's filled with many waterfalls, and all caused by various volcanic eruptions over the years, and they're happening as we speak right now, and it's just an amazing place to visit. So we're going to go through day one of our west interior.
So here's our map of Iceland. As I mentioned, we'll be starting off in the Reykjavik area, and then we will travel up to the west side of Iceland, off to the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. I'm sorry about the pronunciation.
No.
And then we will travel up into the northern fjords area of Iceland, and then come back down and actually circumnavigate the country, and stopping in the beautiful Diamond Beach and Glacier Lagoon area on the last day.
This is very extensive. From our last trip a few weeks ago, we actually covered basically the southern part of the country. This one's a little more extensive, and I wanted to cover more territory. So when we put this together with our Icelandic guide and fellow photographer up there, we really worked hard to bring some amazing features into this one in order to get into some more remote areas.
So this particular workshop will be seeing lots of geothermal activity, Icelandic horses, some beautiful green areas, and some amazing waterfalls. So here's an example of some of the typical accommodations that we'll be having. This is the dining room, actually, in one of the places that we just stayed in. We have good meals for breakfast and for dinner. It's served in a family setting, and most of these hotels are small family-owned locations.
Now, Iceland's a very small country. I don't know if you've been there or not, but it's 300,000 people that inhabit the entire country, and 200,000 of them live in Reykjavik, and the rest live out in the countryside.
Here's a typical room. This is a double room, clean, comfortable, private bath in all of our workshops. So on day one, we'll start in the west interior. The west interior of Iceland is one of the hidden gems, covered with farmlands, lava fields, and spectacular waterfalls in this hidden landscape.
And of course, we'll be in the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. Did I pronounce that correctly, Holly? Yeah, Iceland's kind of a mouthful when you look at some of the wording. I don't want to mispronounce anything, but this is the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. It's a beautiful place and not to be missed. We'll be exploring that place in the first part of our trip. It has, go ahead.
Old volcanic fields, jagged cliffs along the coastline, and white sandy beaches make this a unique location.
And there's many iconic waterfalls. Like when you reference Iceland, this particular location will come up. It's got some spectacular vistas, and we can say spectacular a million times, but when you go there, you just, your camera really doesn't do it justice.
Day four, we'll travel into the northwest area of Iceland, and this is famous for its old farmlands, small villages, and interesting beach areas. If you notice in this picture, there's basalt columns right there along the beach, And this is an interesting lighthouse too. We've noticed that the lighthouses are quite interesting architecturally.
And then we'll as we head further north, we'll get into some of the older volcanic parts of the country. And you'll find these immense waterfalls. They're pretty spectacular. They're just an eyeful.
Day 6, we will be visiting some of the geothermal activity areas, and the photographs that you can get there will include these amazing colors and the geology of this area of northern Iceland.
And day 7, we'll be heading to another area where there'll be a lot more sheep and horses. The horses in Iceland are amazing. They're all over, and they're very photographic. And of course, Iceland is full of more waterfalls. Very spectacular.
So day 8, as we mentioned, we'll be heading back and circumnavigating the southern part of the country, and we'll be making a stop in our favorite place, Diamond Beach and the Glacier Lagoon area.
Diamond Beach is an amazing place to photograph. These immense lumps of ice will come up on the beach, and you can set up some really nice time-lapse photography or to capture them. Everybody really enjoys this spot. We were there 2 weeks ago, and we really spent a long time here just really enjoying it. And I really wanted to include it again on this trip on our way back. So this will be kind of on our way back on this trip.
So that will conclude the 8 days in this particular workshop coming up August 10th through the 17th. If you want to spend a couple of days in Reykjavik, either before or after your tour, that would be a great idea to wander around this charming city and either get ready for your tour or relax.
Or decompress from the tour, depending.
Relax for a couple of days.
Yeah, and it's great for street photography. If you want to, slap on a 50mm lens and cruise around the town and take some shots, you really enjoy that. I had a lot of fun with that at the conclusion of our last trip there. It's a very picturesque town. It's got some very fun little places to hang out in, nice little restaurants. The food is fun, and the people are fun. It's a real upbeat, fun, young town. You'll really enjoy it.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about our recent trip. Here's Mark and I out on one of the glaciers. This was a spectacular scenery. So this particular trip, we actually started in Reykjavik again, and we traveled along the south shore of Iceland. We spent a couple of days in the Vik area, continuing on, as I mentioned, the Diamond Beach and Glacier Lagoon area, and then a couple more days in this Hofen area. And it was quite the adventure.
Yeah, some of these vistas that you'll see as you're traveling was quite spectacular. And I'm sure we'll be visiting more of them in the summer with less snow, definitely. And what you'll see in the summertime, you'll have more of the green. It's very green and vibrant green, electric green, and it's spectacular.
The first part of the trip we spent in the Golden Circle area, which is really the predominant tourist area in Iceland. It was really the only place where we actually saw large groups of people. Iceland is, like we mentioned before, is pretty quiet.
Yeah, and this gave all the clients in our workshop a chance to get comfortable with their equipment and working in the colder conditions. And it took them a little bit to get situated and get a feel for it. But everyone was really comfortable on this trip, and we had some amazing photographs from this one. And this is your typical sunset in the winter in Iceland. You get a lot of this nice color as the sun sets.
Now this is in the Vik area. This
is in the Vik area, yes, it is. And this is another waterfall. There's many of them. I don't want to try to pronounce that. It's Endeth Falls. We hiked up here and I got this nice exposure. This is one of my favorite shots from the workshop. And then more basalt columns, like in the earlier summer presentation. You'll see a lot of these around Iceland, similar to Devil's Postpile in the Eastern Sierras. That's what reminded me so much of. Really beautiful.
This was one of the fun stops along the way. This was actually a sheep ranch, and there's just waterfalls flowing off of all the cliffs around the area. And if you notice in this picture, the waterfalls are actually flowing up. So we did have some wind on that particular day, but really gave a unique looking waterfall for sure.
And then as we travel on our upcoming trip, we'll be running through this area also, so we'll be able to stop and take a couple of shots of that area too. And there's many valleys that we explored. When I go on these trips, I like to really gear up with good local knowledge and people with a lot of, good background knowledge of the areas we'll explore. And all these valleys are very accessible.
And as we tour through in the summer too, I'm sure we'll see some of these reindeer. We saw herds of Icelandic reindeer, and that was kind of a fun treat also. And there we are out on the glacier.
Yeah, we explored probably about 3 different glaciers on this trip.
I love the blue color of this particular glacier, and as you'll see when we go through it, they were doing tours out on the glacier, and it really gives you a sense of scale of how big this glacier was.
Yeah, and the blue color is basically caused by the compression. It's so much weight, it just pushes all the oxygen out, and it reacts to the atmosphere, and you get these nice blue colors. Some amazing valleys we explored. And the horses. Yes, the Icelandic horses. You probably heard of them. They're just very, at first you kind of see, oh, horses, I've seen horses. But once you start photographing these horses, they tend to want to perform for you. So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
These are some local people that come over. We were told that a lot of German girls come over and love riding the horses on their vacation.
Notice the Icelandic sweaters too. The wool sweaters.
Yeah, really pretty sweaters. You'll find a lot of this great.
And the horses, as Mark mentioned, were really fun to play with. This particular group, we were able to just call them over from the other side of the pasture, and they came over. It took them a couple of minutes, but they definitely wanted to see what we were up to. And I love their hairstyles.
That's great.
Yeah, and they were sparring with each other, so it's very cute.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really great. They came right up to you, and you can just pet them, no problem. Lots of fun.
And our clients enjoyed them as well. And we also gave our clients lots of time to be creative. This shot, was this long row of bare trees with this spectacular sky in the background, and we do spend lots of time getting creative on our trips.
Yeah, when we have small groups like we do, everybody gets their full share of time, and then they can interact with three professional photographers to help with anything they need, or if they're versed in their technology and their skills, they can just be on their own. But if they're intermediate, we help with them.
So we did have a lot of snow and ice on this trip, but it still made for some interesting photography. As you can see, the contrast of the snow against the black sand beach and the gray skies made for some dramatic photography. I love this in particular, the black sand beach where it meets the snow.
It's just a lot of fun. It's almost like a black and white photograph without the conversion. Just the contrasts are just so much fun. And
I had mentioned the lighthouses. So this is one of the lighthouses in the Vik area.
And then the beautiful churches that dot the countryside. Apparently in Iceland, a church has to be within a 15-minute walk from any community. It's sort of their kind of like, it's been like that for years. I was curious about that because we did see a lot of churches. This was one particular one I really enjoyed. And here we are out on a glacier. We had a couple, let's see, we had 3 people, well, 4 people. There's
5 photographers in there, and those are all from our group out.
Oh yeah, there's 5. It's like, yeah, that's our whole group. Yeah. These great, on these, what do they call them? The glacial moraines, they come out and they just dump these big sheets of ice that push out. Some great compositions, a lot of fun. And you drop those in the foreground, get some great shots.
Like this one.
Yeah, in particular, this little flake looked really, really enticing.
This flake, this ice flake, as Mark calls it, was probably the size of a small car.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And there's Mark out on the glacier.
And then we're out at, this is Glacier Lagoon. We'll be running by this on the way back this summer, just to get a sense. And this area, this is where, this is one of the largest glaciers on Iceland. And it dumps in this lagoon, and it just kind of feeds this ice out into the beach. And then you get the famous Diamond Beach, where you have the nice crystal ice on the beach.
There's the ice.
Yeah.
More ice.
Yeah, more ice. And then I do a little delayed exposure. I shot this at 30 seconds at f/22. But when you're out there shooting, you got to be careful because those waves will come in on you really quick. So always be careful.
Again, another car-size ice.
I wasn't that big. I was a small car. A small car.
A smart car size. Okay.
And also a note too, when we're shooting out here, since there's only about 6 to 8 of us, we can really keep an eye on everybody and make sure everybody's okay. When you're shooting in Iceland, you're dealing with a lot of elements. Whether you come in the summer or the winter, it changes like every 20 minutes. So you'll have blue skies, and you'll have wind, and you'll have rain, and a little sleet. So you have to be not only working with your gear, making sure your settings are right, your lens is clean. Constantly, you have to keep your another eye on the waves coming in. But I found it a lot of fun, and that's the reason I wanted to include it on our upcoming trip in August.
Yeah, that was probably the most one of the most fun places.
Yeah, it really was.
And this was probably one of the most spectacular places that we went.
Yeah, this was really interesting because we were out here, and it was early in the morning, and we looked out, and it was very I guess the air is really clear there, and everything was very sharp and crisp. It was really hard to get a bad composition or exposure. Just a basic exposure, you can get some really amazing shots. And of course, the horses again.
More horses.
Lots of horses. I really, it's funny, we first set this trip up, I never really thought I'd be enamored with the horses as much. And it seems like every time I got around them, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. That's a little element shot.
Yeah, we did have a little bit of snow on this trip, but we were prepared for the elements. And when you come on a trip with us, we do give you an extensive list of gear that you need to bring, not only your camera gear, but what kind of clothing to wear, what kind of footwear, what kind of outer jackets to wear. So everybody was comfortable and was able to concentrate on their photography rather than concentrate on
being cold, because nothing worse if your feet are cold and wet and your hands are cold and wet, you're not thinking about photography. But once you're all warm and toasty, you can really concentrate. I guess the main thing you really have to make sure you have a nice big lens cloth to keep your lens clear all the time.
Mm-hmm. And that would be true in the summer too.
In the summer too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then after the end of the trip, we actually spent a couple days in Reykjavik, like we had recommended that you do. And we were able to see the Aurora Borealis.
This was the Harpa Opera House, and Holly pointed this out to me. I was actually shooting the opposite direction, and the aurora was kind of coming up over the Selfoss Peninsula, looking into Reykjavik Bay. And I said, I turned around and I saw this spire of light coming above the Opera House, and later Holly pointed out it's like a note.
It's like a note.
It's like a note, and I didn't realize that. I was just enamored because the aurora actually matched the color that they had lit the facade of the Opera House. I'm going, oh my God, I got this color match. And believe me, there's nothing done to this. Of course, it was a little adjustment on the clarity, but that's about it. And it's funny, more aurora. And the thing about Iceland, if you're going to go, keep the aurora in the back of your mind. If it does happen, it happens. If it doesn't, you're not going to be disappointed, because Iceland's the land of changing weather. And if you got a cloudy, rainy day, you're not going to get the aurora. But if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. And,
but there's also a million other opportunities for fantastic photography.
Oh my God! Oh my God! It's just like, it's one of the only places I think I've been, and Holly and I have been all over the world, where you find a location and you're standing there looking at it, and you go, oh, I have to take a picture, because the camera does not do this justice. It's got some so beautiful scenery in that part of the world.
And this is in the Reykjavik Bay, their Sun Voyager
Yeah, it's really
sculpture.
It's like a Viking ship thing, all stainless steel.
Yeah. So I think that's the end of our screen share.
Yeah, yeah.
And thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching. So if you're interested in checking out Iceland this summer, once again, it's August 10th, and we're taking 6 to 8 people on this one. Once we get the amount, we're just going to get everybody going. It'll be a lot of fun. And hopefully you can join us.
Yeah, we hope you can join us and learn a little bit about photography, learn a little bit about this fantastic country called Iceland. Yeah. And we're Jansen Photo Expeditions. We're all about photography, inspiration, exploration, and adventure.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.